their seats.
We're ready to begin. First, we welcome all our candidates and our guests. We really appreciate your being with us tonight. I am Melissa Barnett. I'm co-president of the League of Women Voters of Hendersonville and Sumner County.
I'm Nancy Lawson, and I'm the other co-president.
We are very proud to bring this candidate forum to you tonight and to the public free of charge. That's very important for the public to have that access. You'll also be able to access this forum on YouTube upcoming soon. We want to give you some quick highlights of the League of Women Voters. We are nonpartisan. We do not endorse candidates. We never do that. But we may take a position on an issue after we've done careful study. Our members include Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and men. And we're very proud of that fact. Our role is to educate the public, promote voter registration, and voter participation. Nancy?
At this time, I would like everybody to stand and participate. We are going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, which we do at every meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's my great pleasure to introduce our moderators this evening. Many of you may know him. It's a professor of history at Vol State and an accomplished author, Grady Eads. Let me give you a hand.
Right. Thank you. I'd like to thank the League for hosting this event tonight. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we get started, a few quick rules to make sure we're all on the same page. First, I would like to ask everyone to make sure their cell phones have been silenced so as not to disturb any of the conversations that we're about to have. I would also like to make sure that we are clear on the rules for the discussion. Each candidate will both get an opening statement that will be 1 minute in duration, so you'll each get a minute. Questions will have been developed by the League Forum Committee. I will ask each candidate one question at a time, and I will allow 1 minute response. Each candidate will also be allowed 1 minute closing statement. A League timekeeper will enforce the above time constraints. So they will be flashing signs at you at 30 seconds and when you run out of time. So keep them in the corner of your eye. All right. There was no coin toss in the back. So I will just randomly choose. Mr. Bergdorf, I apologize, Mr. Bergdorf, if you would please give us your minute opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eads. I appreciate that. Coming together, this is my first experience as in a forum such as this. I've been on the board for about 2 years, and I have enjoyed my time there so far. It's been refreshing at times, disappointing at times, but nevertheless, it's been a very learning, very educational experience. I've enjoyed the learning. I've enjoyed the activity we work through on a daily basis. So as I was thinking about my introduction, I went back to a couple of things. The newspaper, Tina Lee had our pieces, has these specific questions in the newspaper, and one of them I elaborated on. I'm a little bit verbose when in writing, but when I elaborated on it was, she said, you need to cut it down, you need to cut it down, you need to cut it down. So I did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read that with the remaining time I have. How much time have I got? I've burned up quite a bit, haven't I? Okay, here we go. It's about why are you running for office? My father calls management an art. I use the same terminology when applying it to governance. There is an art to studying the issues at hand. You must be able to look around the corner to see what will be expected if this spending bill is passed or if this zoning change is granted. What does that mean to my neighbors? How will this affect my property rates? How and spending in 1 year and beyond? Will allowing zoning changes to this set a precedent for a request we have not even thought of yet? The philosophers say no man is an island. This means the decisions we make now ultimately will affect everyone in this community. As I walk the neighborhood door to door, I have had the opportunity to take my constituents' concerns back to City Hall. There I try to move the needle in my client's direction, seeking positive outcomes for my neighbors. My vision is to maintain and hold on to what makes our community so desirable to folks who move here and continue to serve my neighbors as best I can. My job as alderman is and has been for the past 2 years to be the liaison from the constituents of Walton Ferry, Sanders Ferry Peninsula, to Hendersonville City Hall. I feel it is incumbent upon me to step forward and serve my community. I take their concerns to the City Hall with every vote. Firstly, consult my constituents on how they will have me vote on planning and spending issues. Secondly, exercise my sense of right and wrong and worldview to make sure I represent them well. Thirdly, be a liaison for my neighbors when they need the city services. Oh, there's a sign that says stop. Thank you.
Mr. Forbes, you have, I will give you a little extra time for equity purposes.
You're welcome.
So you have 2.5 minutes for your opening statement, and then we will stick very strictly to the 1 minute from this point forward.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much to the League of Women's Voters for having hosted this here tonight. A little bit about me. I'm a 30-year resident of Hendersonville. I've been married 46 years with 2 sons. Both went to Hendersonville High School. Now, my business experience as manager owner is in manufacturing, real estate sales, and retail sales. Now, my decision to run for alderman was not a quick one. It's actually going back over 3 or 4 years with local residents asking me to run for alderman. They felt they were not getting what they expected to get, and that there was a lack of representation, and they were not getting their fair share of resources, share of the budget. My goal, I guess you would say agenda. Now, I really don't have an agenda other than to help the residents of Hendersonville, Ward 1. LAC, that's to listen, A, to act, and C, to communicate. That is, take the needs of the residents to the board. And that is my intent. I don't consider myself running against anybody. I consider myself running for the people of Ward 1. That's who I focus on. This is a nice gentleman to my right. I just met him tonight.
Thank you.
That's my intent, to represent the people of Ward 1.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not ready for 2.5 minutes.
All right, well, let's jump in then. Question number 1, I will start with Mr. Forbes this time. Ward 1 is an older part of the city. What do your constituents say are the major needs of your ward, and how will you address these concerns? 1 minute, sir.
Yes, these concerns are probably universal with all the other wards, which is, of course, the roads, the traffic, congestion, flooding, potholes, and so forth. How would we address them? We've got to look at the reality of the situation. Is the traffic, and as a number of vehicles, is going to get worse. And Nashville is growing at the rate of 100 new residents per day. Gallatin is, we don't know what that is, but if you drive up to Gallatin, they're building everywhere. All this traffic is going both directions. They're coming through our town. Tonight was especially bad. I mean, the left turn lane onto Walton Ferry, onto Sanders Ferry rather, went way past the bridge. And the other direction the same way. I don't know what would be the solution. I had a thought about a reversible lane, but that's extreme. It's done in some cities, and it's applied to cities. Oh, I'm ran out of time.
Sneaks up on you, doesn't it? Pardon? Sneaks up on you, doesn't it?
Well, I wanted that, some of that 2.5 minutes. Okay, roll it over to the next question.
All right, Mr. Bergdorf, I'm sorry, sir, Mr. Bergdorf, same question. Ward 1 is an older part of the city. What do your constituents say are the major needs of your ward, and how will you address those concerns?
Thank you. Much as my cohort has said over here, the neighbor, actually, the concerns are traffic primarily. Stormwater is one of them, potholes another one, and one of the things I've been able to do to address those is take those concerns back to the city, back to planning, and address some of them on a regular basis. So, for instance, as I'm door knocking, I get to talk to my neighbors on Gaytone, on Lake Park Drive, on Rebecca, and address their needs. They say, well, we have a pothole over here that needs to be addressed. I take it back to the city. I say, we have a pothole that needs to be addressed. Public Works jumps on it in a matter of weeks, maybe days even. We have to go ahead and have the lines of communication between the citizens and the city open and used. So, for instance, there was a constituent on Morris as well. Do I need to stop?
It's time.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
That minute just flies by.
It does. Wow. It does.
All right, we will return. First question for you.
Sure.
Okay. The League of Women Voters supports transparency in government, openness, honesty, and accountability. What will you do to promote communication between citizens and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen other than citizen attendance at BOMA meetings?
Thank you for that question. Actually, my cohort of mine and I last year proposed an ordinance to videotape and to live stream every single meeting that the city holds. We built the ordinance with the help of Lance Ray, our attorney. We submitted it to General Committee. It died in General Committee because they said it was going to be too expensive to do. I feel like that is something that needs to be addressed again. I plan on doing that if my cohort is agreeable to do so, to bring it back to General Committee. This time, they want a specific level of transparency, a specific level of videotape and streaming quality. I think it's most important, that's important too, but it's most important just to have the transparency period. So we need to go ahead and do that, and I plan to bring that back in the next term.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Same question. League of Women Voters supports transparency in government, openness, honesty, and accountability. What will you do to promote communication between citizens and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen other than citizen attendance at BOMA meetings?
Oh, actually, this is what I've been doing for years. I'm on several local websites, and we talk back and forth about issues. If somebody asks a question, I don't have the answer, I research it. If not, I refer them to the right department to handle this. It's gotten to be to the point where a lot of people think I already work for the city. Just coming home today, I had a message from a homeowner saying they had a drainage problem, and what could I do? So I'm in a daily communication, and when I go online, and I get anywhere from 200 to 4,000 hits on a message. So I'm getting a really good readership. And that's been very effective in communication back and forth from the cities, from the citizens in the local area and Hendersonville overall. And I would continue that. In fact, that was a question that someone asked me today, would I keep doing what I'm doing? So I'm already there.
Okay, very good. Well, since we're on the topic of BOMA, Mr. Forbes, has there been a major decision or action taken by BOMA in the last year with which you disagree or take issue? Please explain.
Well, I don't want to run a negative campaign. You know, you hear things, so forth, about the way someone's voted and where they stand. I don't really want to go there, and you should have or would have or could have. I'm going to know what the right path is myself and keep on that path. No point, I want to look forward. I don't want to look back at things that were done right or wrong.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bergdorf, same question. Has there been a major decision or action taken by BOMA in the past year with which you disagree or take issue? Please explain.
Thank you. One of the things that has occurred in the past year was, but it was resolved satisfactorily, I feel like, due to our strong efforts and push against it. It was at the end of Centerpoint Road South. People wanted, there was a group of organization that came up that wanted to build what they talked about were reusable, a way to generate heat, generate electricity out of trash. So it was very eco-friendly was the project they presented. Then it morphed into adding a waste transfer station to the end of Centerpoint Road with 300 trucks a day coming into the city carrying garbage from all over the Middle Tennessee area. We were able to defeat that, but it took effort. They came back to the board 3 times, if I'm not mistaken, maybe only 2, but 3, I think. But we were able to sufficiently, with effort, we were able to identify the problem, identify that we don't want 300 trucks, trash trucks coming in through our city, identify we don't want someone else's trash, but we were able to defeat that effectively on the board.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Let's talk for a second about everyone's favorite topic, taxes. Mr. Bergdorf, this will go to you first. Hendersonville sales tax referendum added a half-cent to sales tax beginning June 1st, 2024. The purpose of this sales tax increase is focused on public safety, infrastructure, paving, and parks. Are there specific PIPP projects that you would like to see accomplished?
Thank you very much for that question. The half-cent sales tax was applied in June 2024, and it was a referendum. It came before the board. There was a desire to send it as a referendum so that it could be voted on by the public. We didn't want to impose a sales tax increase on anyone who did not want it there, period. So that's why it went as a referendum. Regarding there are certain limitations in place, so I can't cherry pick what project I want this money to go to. It's for paving, it's for infrastructure, and it's for fire department and police. That's it. It cannot be, you can't just pick it out and do anything else you want to with it. It was written in the legislation, it's written in the ordinance, so this board or any other board can't change it. So it's dedicated to, those funds are dedicated to those causes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Forbes, same question. Hendersonville sales tax referendum added half-cent to sales tax beginning June 1st, 2024. The purpose of this sales tax increase is focused on public safety, infrastructure, paving, and parks. Are there any specific PIPP projects that you would like to see accomplished?
Well, if it could be done, I would like to see the money, which I think is a great idea, by the way, to go to the roads and the storm runoff. I think that's 2 vital things that are very important on our neck of the woods, is the potholes and the roads, paving, and storm runoff. Okay. That's where I would put it.
Now, you had all this extra time, and you're complaining. You want to come back to anything while we've started? Okay. Sorry. All right. Well, so along these lines, since fire was mentioned just a moment ago, Mr. Forbes, do you think that compensation for our fire, police, and emergency service personnel is competitive to retain that personnel? If not, what measure do you think will increase recruitment and retention?
Well, it may need to be increased on the pension side for the fire department, for one. That seems to be an issue that should be looked at. And the police, I think the HPD does a wonderful job, just outstanding in keeping crime at bay. A little concerned about the traffic side of it all, traffic enforcement. We should look at that, if there is a traffic division with HPD, or is it just officers that are on duty spotting somebody running a red light? I mean, it's kind of crazy out there. You know, you take your life in your hand on 286, and the stop signs are like for, those are like almost like amusement. I live 2 doors down from a four-way stop, and you see, zhoo, zhoo, every morning. I mean, there's no fear of getting a ticket, and maybe the fines are too low. So that needs to be looked at. If we could look at more funding for the police department for traffic enforcement, which is totally lacking.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Bergdorf, same question. Do you think that compensation for our fire, police, and emergency service personnel is competitive to retain that personnel? If not, what measures do you think will increase recruitment and retention?
The short answer is no. The other answer, to improve that, people don't work in an environment just for the cash. People work in an environment for the atmosphere. They work for the opportunity to advance. They work for the opportunity to get a degree. They work continuing education. There's lots of other things that we can use to promote firemen retention, number one, and recruitment, number two. So it's just as important to retain our trained staff as it is to recruit new staff, because if you constantly have a revolving door of staff, you are lacking in the training side. You don't have as well-educated staff, therefore you don't have as well-served public. And our job up here on the board is to make sure that we serve the public well. I was endorsed by the Hendersonville Firefighters Association, and I take that endorsement seriously. I have been on the record as saying that I support them, and I will, and the lady's holding the stop sign up for me, so I got to stop. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Clearly, growth is a topic that is coming up quite a bit, so let me move into that vein for a moment. How significant a problem, and this is for Mr. Bergdorf to begin with, how significant a problem is affordable housing in Hendersonville, and how can it be addressed?
Thank you. That's a very tough question. Affordable housing almost doesn't exist in Middle Tennessee, let alone the city of Hendersonville. I have sons that, I have 4 sons, and one lives in Hartsville because that's where affordable housing is for a young family starting out. My 2 other sons, one lives with me, one lives in Gallatin, so, and the other one is fortunate enough to have a house in Hendersonville. To address that, I don't know, it's a matter of dollars and cents, it's a matter of economy and economies of scale. If there's more houses built in an area, then the tendency for a home price to drop will occur. But we have so many people moving to the area from other neighborhoods, other states. I call them other worlds, really. But from other states, a lot of them are looking to Hendersonville as a refuge from what they came from, the Californians, the New Yorkers, I got to stop. So I didn't get to answer that question.
Mr. Forbes, same question. How significant a problem is affordable housing?
Insurmountable problem. The average price of a home in Hendersonville is around $454,000, and as pointed out, we're really built out. So, what's considered affordable anymore? I don't know what that number is, and if so, if you do have affordable housing at a deep discount, where are we going to put it that won't offset the prices of the adjoining neighborhood? That's a real problem. I don't know of a solution at this point, as far built out as Hendersonville is, if that's even workable.
Okay, thank you. So along these same lines, Mr. Forbes, I'll start with you. The impact of growth has been cited as a problem, as you both did just a moment ago. It is estimated that about 15% of property in Hendersonville remains to be developed. What are your priorities for development going forward, and what is your position on imposing impact fees? Mr. Forbes.
Impact fees are a great idea, about 25 years late right now. I'm surprised to hear there's, what, 50%?
15.
Oh, 15.
15.
Okay. I was wondering where you got the 50%. 15%. Yes, we should definitely have impact fees and get what we can now. It's so late, because these big subdivisions that have been allowed to be built, they should have paid for the fire departments and the schools, and we've let all that go now. So that's money out the door that's gone. So yes, impact fees, let's do it and don't wait. definitely support that.
Same question. Obviously, the impact of growth has been cited as a problem. It's estimated that 15% of the property in Hendersonville remains to be developed. So, what are your priorities for development going forward? What is your position on impact fees?
Currently, impact fees are negotiated with the developers. They're variable impact fees negotiated by the planning department. So there are some impact fees there, but they're not mandatory. What the proposition that we've had come before the board is a plan that put all the money from impact fees into parks. That was a plan. That was not, it was well-intentioned, but it missed the mark. So we've asked them to go back to the drawing board and submit to us, and it's in process now, a plan, an impact fee plan to benefit the city. Now, you have great restrictions on impact fees from the state as well. So we're limited where we can put these fees. I was looking for the stop sign. Is it stopped yet? No? Wow. So we are limited where we can actually put impact fees and what services we can apply impact fees for. There it is. Okay. Can I continue?
You get a lot
I'm trying to soak it all in myself.
Thank you.
All right, so let's, I believe this is going to be we're close to the end now. We're close to the end. So Mr. Bergdorf, let's start with you for this question. I don't know what it's like in your ward, but in my ward, the deer population is an enormous issue. Do you agree with the need to control the deer population in Hendersonville? If so, what method do you support?
As the current board liaison to the Deer Herd Monitoring Committee, I'm very familiar with that problem that you're experiencing. It is not only citywide, it is statewide, it is nationwide. They're even having a problem with the deer invading suburban areas in California. So it's something that we're working on. We've finally got a process in place. We've got an education plan in place. We've got a deer dashboard on the city website that tells you how many deer have been hit in a particular period of time. We want to, I'm going to go ahead and educate everybody. Drive slow, okay? Drive slow in the morning, drive slow in the evening. Drive slow. The deer are going to pop out and nail your car anytime when you're not looking. It happened to me. So, but that's not the reason I'm on the deer dashboard or on the deer committee. But we've really made good efforts working with the USDA, TWRA, and other local agencies to try and educate folks on how to live with the deer. Now, we're still, for 2025, we're planning a Wounded Warrior type event to work with that.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Forbes, do you agree with the need to control the deer population in Hendersonville? And if so, what method do you support?
Well, the deer problem in Ward 1 is extreme. It's probably the highest area of deer population. And the deer issue has been discussed. I've talked to so many people about that. It's a love-hate relationship. You talk to one homeowner and they want to shoot the deer on sight. Another one, feeding the deer in the backyard as we speak. So there's no universal solution to this. It's going to have to be addressed home by home. What the Deer Committee is working on a program through TWRA where the homeowner, property owner, can contact and make some type of arrangement to reduce the deer on their property. I don't know of any overall plan where we can go onto people's property to address the deer issue. It just can't happen. It's very volatile. So it's going to have to be on a case-by-case basis. The people that have deer problem need to make contact with the city in that and make arrangements.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we have reached the end of the formal questioning period. Mr. Forbes, I'm going to start with you to give you a 1-minute closing statement, and then we'll move to Mr. Bergdorf as well. So, Mr. Forbes, 1-minute closing statement.
Well, the election process is now underway. Early voting started yesterday. It's been fantastic. a great turnout, long lines both days, yesterday and today. We're going to feel good on November 6th. We're all going to wake up and know that the advantage of the means to control the government is underway. Candidates do not win or lose an election. The people win or lose. It's up to the voters and no one else. So I tell everybody here tonight, don't waste your opportunity to go out and vote.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bergdorf, 1 minute.
Thank you. What life skills and experiences do you have that make you suitable to be a city alderman? I've had the opportunity to live a life of service in many different environments. My father noted work to be the backbone of productive society. It builds the tools for a successful future. As a youngster, I always worked. I would spend the school year performing my chores around the house. Simple things anyone could do: take out the trash, clean up my room, make my bed, daily. These are routines that can establish good habits. In the summers, my parents would let me work on our dairy farm in Westmoreland. There, it was different work. Up at 4 a.m. to bring the cows in to the holding pen so they could be milked. Then, clean the holding stalls. Finish milking, cleaning up about 10 a.m. I took this work ethic that I've generated and I apply it to my daily life. I've had the opportunity to serve as a clinician, as a project manager, as a manager, district operation manager. My overall goal, and what I tell my boys when they grow up, is that you're not here to serve yourself. You're here to serve somebody else. As a scoutmaster and a scout dad, we've been fortunate to be able to serve all kinds of people everywhere. I was able to do that as a clinician, and now I want to continue that as your alderman. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you both coming tonight, and I thank you for your time. I believe this concludes part one of the candidate forum for Ward 1. Thank you so much for being here tonight, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Welcome to the forum for Ward 3. We have two candidates here tonight, Jeffrey Sassy and Andrew Kaczmarek. My name is Grady Eads, and I will be conducting the forum. I would like to make a couple of things clear before we get started, in case people showed up late. I'm considering this a part one and a part two. I would like to ask everyone to silence their phones if you have not done so already, so that no one is interrupted during the course of the conversations. And I would like to state the rules so that we are clear on the guidelines moving forward. Each candidate will get a 1-minute opening statement. We will then have a question and answer period. Questions will be developed. Questions have been developed by the League's Forum Committee. I will ask each candidate one question at a time and allow 1 minute in response. Each candidate will also get a 1-minute closing statement. We have official timekeepers down here who will wave at you and throw things if things go too long. I appreciate you both for being here tonight. I will start with Mr. Sassy. If you will, you have 1 minute for an opening statement.
Thank you very much. And firstly, I'd like to make a motion for 5 minutes per question. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you very much. I've been privileged to be on the Board of Mayor and Alderman for the past 2 years and been able to really impact a lot of things on this board and also talk to the citizens and what really concerns them. And that's what I find that is more important about this position, is that this is not a position to control or to impose our will. We're representatives where we are doing your will. I have on all my materials during this campaign, I have my phone number, I have my email, so I encourage anyone who has questions about me, feel free to call me, but and I'd love to talk to you. That's what this position is all about, is getting to know the citizens and what their needs are. I moved here 15 years ago with my kids and wife. I have 3 kids, 2 are out of the house, and 1 in high school, but I would love to represent you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Kaczmarek, same question. You have 1 minute for an opening introduction.
Yes, hi. So my name is Andy Kaczmarek. I have lived here in Hendersonville for 6 years now. We moved here, my wife and I, and we have 3 children, all all a little bit younger than, they're all still in the house. When we first moved here, I and my wife instantly fell in love with the city, the people that make up the city, our neighbors. And that's really what started to drive me to want to be a part of this and run for alderman is the love for the city that we have grown being here. And then, you know, it was also the poke to say you should be able, you should do this. They think, you know, I believe my background and who I am as a person and what I do professionally gives me the skills that to do the job. So that is why I'm running for alderman.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Kaczmarek, I'm going to start with you for the first question. Ward 3 is the area that you are interested in representing. What do your constituents say are the major needs of your ward, and how will you address those concerns?
Well, I think that as it was alluded to earlier this evening, you know, I think the top ones are across the city, not just in our ward. The roads being probably number one thing I hear about. The infrastructure, what we have in the city, we're growing so fast that the city's not, the infrastructure is not keeping up. And then obviously having a good public safety, our police officers, our firefighters, our medical technicians, all of those. And, you know, what are we going to do to solve those problems? We got to keep doing what's already been started, really. But we need to try and build upon it and find where we can allocate to help build and grow the city along with the population.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Sassy, same question. You wish to represent Ward 3. What do your constituents say are the major needs of your ward, and how will you address these concerns?
Yeah, thank you very much. The main things that Ward 3 is concerned about, one is our roads. We're doing a great job right now of paving roads, but we're about 10 to 15 years behind where we should be. And so as this board and as being a member of this board, my focus is going to be on ensuring we continue to increase the level of paving that we're doing in the city, and especially for Ward 3. We got a lot of issues in our roads in the city. We got Center Point Road paved finally, but that's just the beginning. Another thing, though, also is that, frankly, crime. Ward 3 is the closest ward to Nashville. And so you have a lot of people coming from that area of the town, and since Ward 3 is the closest, that's where they're going to stop. But with LPR cameras that we've instituted and we continue to fund, we're helping to curb that crime, and I want to increase the amount of funding we give to LPR cameras.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Sassy, we're going to start with you for this question. The League of Women Voters supports transparency in government, openness, honesty, and accountability. What will you do to promote communication between citizens and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen other than citizen attendance at BOMA meetings?
Well, I feel like I'm cheating. I got 30 minutes to think about this question. Mainly, it's like I said earlier, it's communicating with the citizenry. What are their feelings on things? I mean, I'm going to have my feelings. I'm a citizen too. But talking to the citizens and how they're feeling about it, that makes a big impact on me. So I use, like I said, I use my phone number. It's on all my materials. My email address is on there, and my Facebook page. I do a lot of communicating on there because I want to hear from my constituents, the people who are living it every single day, as well as me, right? Because what they decide may not be what I'm thinking about, and there may be something that I haven't even thought about. That I mean, I'll tell you, the people in Ward 3 are much smarter than I am. So I encourage people to contact me, and I'm always willing to listen and want to talk to everyone about how they're feeling about things. May not always work out because there may be multiple sides to it, but let's talk about it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Kaczmarek, the same question. The League of Women Voters supports transparency in government, openness, honesty, and accountability. What will you do to promote communication between citizens and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen other than citizen attendance at BOMA meetings?
I think it starts with conversation. You know, having the conversation with my neighbors, the other people in my ward, and really hearing what they have to say, but not just hearing it, and taking it and show them and prove to them that there's actionable steps that can be had. That's building that relationship with, you know, the different officials, the different department heads and stuff like that that can happen. We can also build upon social media. You know, since I've started my campaign, I've been fairly active on social media, just trying to get the word out about everything that I find, and have it be a place where, you know, people can communicate back to me as well. So constant communication and action upon that communication.
Okay, thank you, sir. Well, as I have no interest in helping either one of you feel like you're cheating, I'll ask a new question this time. Mr. Kazmarek, you can blame your opponent for this. In the interest of the Sunshine Law, public perception, and public confidence, would you be willing to leave your cell phone off or in a basket during BOMA and other public meetings?
Absolutely. I would actually look forward to it. And yes, and absolutely would. You know, I think it's important to silence them, put them away, whatever, so that you focus on what at the task at hand, right? And you dedicate your time that, you know, what is it, twice a month where you're in these meetings, that you stay focused and stay on point, and don't let other things bother you. You know, my job requires me to keep the phone close by a lot of times, and because anytime there's a big problem, I'm going to get a phone call. So I think it would be advantageous to have that where it sets aside, and that you're not bothered and you stay focused on what you're doing.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Sassy, the same question. In the interest of the Sunshine Law, public perception, and public confidence, would you be willing to leave your cell phone off or in a basket during BOMA and other public meetings?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Absolutely, I would be in support of that if that came across that we decided as a board to implement, for sure. I mean, we could even do it right now, right? We don't have to have a resolution or an ordinance or anything to implement that kind of rule on ourselves, so I would definitely support that. However, I do use, as I'm sure many have seen, I do use an electronic device up here when I am when I'm on the board. I don't use the big booklet that's full of paper provided by the city. I actually have it all digitally on my PC, my mini PC, so I can quickly write notes on there. I can quickly scroll and get to where I need to be. So as long as I can keep that, I'm fine with it.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir. All right, so Mr. Sassy, I'll begin with you for this question. Land preservation is not an active priority in Hendersonville. The city has focused on development of current city parks and land holdings. Do you agree with this approach? So land preservation is not a priority.
Well, I would actually disagree with the premise of the question.
Okay.
The city just voted, this board voted to just double the size of our parks with Heritage Park, which was generously, half of it was generously donated by the Friends of Indian Lake. So our parks that we have in the city are very near and dear to many citizens, and we want to preserve them. As far to my understanding, there's a big commitment at the city. I have not seen any reason to doubt that. Now there may be development around parks, which we can't stop. Right? There's landowners; they have rights, and they can build within the confines of the zoning within that space. They can build there, and I'm fine with that. But I absolutely would oppose any rezoning of park space to for development.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kazmarek, the same question. Land preservation is not an active priority in Hendersonville. The city has focused on development of current city parks and land holdings. Do you agree with this approach?
I think it is important. You know, again, I see a very an effort to build upon and sustain our parks already. So, you know, and as Jeff said, you know, landowners have the right to build on their land as long as they stay within the zoning laws. So we don't, as a city, don't have control of that. But I do agree that, you know, sometimes I'm surprised by the amount of time and money put into our parks today already, that I would find that I think we do want to preserve our land. And we do that by having our big parks and expanding upon them and keeping them up and that. So I don't quite, I think we already are.
Thank you. All right, so since we're on the topic of parks, Hendersonville sales tax referendum passed a half-cent sales tax beginning June 1st, 2024. The purpose of this sales tax increase is focused on public safety, infrastructure, paving, and parks. Are there any specific PIPP projects that you would like to see accomplished? Mr. Kazmarek, you may begin.
So I was for the tax increase. I think it was the right thing to do right now because of the costs of things and getting things done. You know, our roads. Probably the biggest things for me are the continue to invest in the paving, and then the public safety. You know, the fire trucks, police cars, they're starting to get old, they're starting to show their age, and we need to be able to give our public safety professionals the tools they need to do their job. It's important to me. You know, I think though the sales tax increase will help us get there, and I was in favor of it. I think, you know, I don't believe Jeff was in favor of it, and so now I don't understand why he wouldn't have been. I'll say it that way because we need to be able to. Oops, sorry.
Well, perhaps we'll get an answer. Mr. Sassy, the same question. Hendersonville sales tax referendum added half a cent to sales tax beginning June 1st, 2024. The purpose of the sales tax increase is focused on public safety, infrastructure, paving, and parks. Are there specific PIPP projects that you would like to see accomplished?
Thank you for that. Well, first of all, let me just say, I was in favor of the citizens choosing the right to raise the sales tax. What I was opposed to was the sales tax in of itself. So I did write about it in the newspaper, and I encourage people, hey, this is not something we need, but if you choose to have this, I will respect that. I'm all about the citizens making decisions for themselves, which is why I'm constantly inviting feedback as well. Now that it is in place, we have, and the citizens voted for it. I accept that, and I want to use those funds. The main thing that we need to do, as you alluded to, Mr. Kazmarek, is paving. This, like I said, the city is about 10 to 15 years behind where it needs to be in paving. So increasing the paving, getting the tools that the fire department needs. We're investing in additional fire apparatuses, which are in desperate need with our aging equipment. And then, if we can, putting more money into those LPRs, which reduce crime.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Sassy, I'll begin with you since we're on the topic of taxes. Under what circumstances would you approve a property or just general tax increase?
None. That's all I have to say about that.
Fair enough. Mr. Kazmarek, same question. Under what circumstances would you approve a property or general tax increase?
Yeah, my first thought is I would be against the tax increases. I would have to understand and have the information in front of me to understand why we would even be having the conversation to increase taxes. So it would be hard for me to say I would be for it for this, this, or this, because my initial response is always I'm not for raising our taxes. So I would have to be able to see each specific instance to be able to speak to it directly. The short answer would be I'm not for it.
Thank you. All right, so Mr. Kazmarek, building off of that, the impact of growth has been cited as a problem. It is estimated that about 15% of property in Hendersonville remains to be developed. What are your priorities for development going forward, and what is your position on imposing impact fees?
I am for impact fees. I agree with the statements that were made earlier that we're far behind. We're behind the eight ball on it. I believe that with the growth, they should help support the city that the growth is happening in. So I am definitely for impact fees. With that growth, you know, homes, businesses, again, I don't get to tell the property owners what they're doing with their property, but I believe that they should have to, if they're wanting to grow in our city, they should help pay for that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Sassy, the same question. The impact of growth has been cited as a problem. It is estimated that about 15% of property in Hendersonville remains to be developed. What are your priorities for development going forward? What is your position on imposing impact fees?
Yeah, thank you for that. You know, I'm very proud of the changes that were made over at Old Town Hendersonville, where we reduced the capacity that could be built over there from a couple thousand down to about 400. Reducing the capacity for additional growth in the city is important to ensure that we stay a hometown, and that's what we want in this town. There's very little development space left, as you said. The developers who do come in and want to build, they need to build within the confines of the zoning. We see all the time builders wanting to come in and change the zoning so they can make more money on a property they bought under a different zoning. So they're immediately increasing the value of that property. I think that's wrong. The zoning was created for a certain way, and it should be kept that way. As for impact fees, yeah, I want them. The problem is the state has imposed certain regulations and rules and impact fees that we're having trouble getting around. We are still working on it, and we will continue to work on it to try and do what's best for Hendersonville.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Sassy, this question begins with you. Do you think that compensation for our fire, police, and emergency service personnel is competitive to retain that personnel? If not, what measure do you think will increase recruitment and retention?
Yeah, that's a really important question. We don't pay our people enough, and we all know it, but we also have to stay within the budget confines that we have. But each year, we need to push that envelope a little bit more and give our people a little bit more. But also at the same time, we need to look at some of the benefits. I spoke to the HFFA, Hendersonville Firefighters Association, about the bridge plan, which would allow members of the fire department to actually retire early and not have to take a 5-year period where they weren't making the money they were, you know, in between when they retire and when they can start collecting Social Security. I think that's an incredibly important project. It's not going to cost a lot to the city, and so we need to take a serious look at that. I think, and that would apply to our police as well, so they could plan for the future more effectively. And I think it's going to be a big benefit to the members of our public safety.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Kaczmarek, the same question. Do you think that compensation for our fire, police, and emergency service personnel is competitive to retain that personnel? If not, what measures do you think will increase recruitment and retention?
You know, as far as just simple pay, you know, you ask any of them and they say no, it's not competitive. But I personally don't know the answer to that. I don't know I don't know what other areas police and fire are making. It'd be definitely worth looking at, but also you got to look at the full, like it's been said, the full benefits package, not just with the retirement, but also what is the city police and fire doing to create a atmosphere that the people want to stay in, that they feel like they have team members, family members at work. You know, all of us go to work and we probably spend more time at work than we do anywhere else. So we need to look at what we're doing to keep them here and from a standpoint of are they happy? Do they enjoy the people they work with? And look at those benefits along with pay, retirement savings, and everything else.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, I want to make sure that we end on this hot button issue of deer. So, Mr. Kaczmarek, I'll begin with you. Do you agree with the need to control the deer population in Hendersonville? If so, what method do you support?
It's definitely a problem. Everybody you talk to complains about the deer and having to navigate them. Thankfully, I don't live out on one of the peninsulas because I hear some very horror stories coming from the peninsulas. But I don't know if there's one answer to how we handle it. I think they're doing a great job on the deer committee. Getting educated, finding the different solutions, and then, presenting them all so that, and it may not be one that works best. It might be this works best for over here and this works best for over here. I don't think there's one answer that'll solve this problem for us.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sassy, the same question. Do you agree with the need to control the deer population in Hendersonville? If so, what method do you support?
We have deer in Hendersonville? Yeah, so we've done a lot of studies at the city level on the deer population. We actually had the TWRA out here. They took infrared pictures of the deer populations, where they're breeding, where they're bedding down, and it's a major problem, especially on the peninsulas. Which is where a lot of the review is done, and we've got to do something about it. But I trust our deer committee to bring to us the right options on what we can do for the deer to reduce that population, and they're taking action. We're funding them, we're allowing them to do their work, and then we can re-review that next year to see what kind of impact it made, and then we can take that next step to reduce it. But that we have to make sure we're keeping that conversation fresh, and that we're constantly re-reviewing our efforts and improving on that issue.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to give each of you 1 minute for closing statements. Mr. Sassy, I believe I began with you, so I will conclude with you tonight. Mr. Kazmarek, you have 1 minute.
Sure. Well, thank you for having us out here tonight. I'd like to start with, I'm doing this and I want to be an alderman because I want to make the city better. Better for my family, my kids, for today and the future. It starts with talking and communicating with the people of Ward 3. I am a big advocate for talking, listening, and acting upon the conversations that I have. I believe that my background in business and the personality I have and the relationships that I have and build with my neighbors and that puts me in a position that I can help to achieve those goals. So I thank everybody and always I'm humbly asking for Ward 3's vote. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sassy, 1 minute.
Thank you, and thank you to the League of Women Voters, all of you, for both men and women, right, for holding this forum. I really appreciate it. This is incredibly important. This is one way where you can really reach a large number of people in one fell swoop. I mean, when we're up here on Boma, we're doing the work that you brought us here to do, and I want to continue doing that work for you because I want to be your representative. We're not, like I said earlier, we're not here to impose what we're thinking. We want to do what you're thinking, and so I will continue to commit to that. I invite you to call me and discuss the issues that are important to you. And maybe we can work on something together that will make the city as a whole better place. So thank you for the time today, and I would really appreciate your vote on November 5th. If you see me at early voting, say hello. Thanks.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the League, I'd like to thank you both for participating tonight, and I wish you both the very best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Coming. And at this time, I would like to let everyone know, we have several candidates that are here that do have opposition, but their opposition has chose not to come. And in the league, U.S., Tennessee, and local, we have something that's called an empty chair. And if the empty chair is there, they can't participate in the actual forum. But we want to give them the opportunity and give the voters the opportunity to hear from them. So each individual will have 5 minutes to talk about themselves and kind of tell you their points. And I'm going to...
Thank you all for coming. Real quickly, just so that we're clear, again, the empty chair rule, the League of Women Voters has a firm rule stating if one of the two candidates in the ward cannot participate, that ward will be excluded from the forum. This is to avoid any suggestion of partisanship by the league. So to that end, each of you will get 5 minutes, a whopping 5 minutes, to state your case for the evening. I will begin with Ms. Collins and work my way over. And when the timekeepers will let you be aware of how much of your time remains. So, Ms. Collins, you have 5 minutes to make your case.
Thank you. First, I want to start by sincerely thanking the League of Women Voters, of which I am a member, but I'm not a great member. And I did not participate, of course, in organizing this event, but I am aware of how much work goes into it, and I really do appreciate that. It is unfortunate that my opponent is not here tonight, which it really saddens me that that means that I cannot fully participate in this. I was going to be a little bit kinder about that, but I sat up here with these two gentlemen and realized this is the second time this week that it's been the three of us at a forum alone. And it angers me, frankly. I feel like it is our job to be transparent and upfront and make ourselves available. And my husband just want to bet I'm not using my notes. It's our job. And if we are not being transparent and accessible and available to you before the election, that is not going to change after the election. I'm sorry, I'm never emotional at these things, but this is fundamental to how representative government works. And if these candidates don't show up for forums, they're not going to show up for you. They're just not. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to go back to my notes. You can look at my website to see what my goals for the next term, my second term, will be, and what my accomplishments for the first term have been. That is Collins 4, Ward 5, Collins, the number 4, Ward, the number 5.com, and I don't need to list those things to you because you are all educated voters and can read. I do want to tell you that my approach to being an alderman is one of partnership. So every Sunday before a BOMA meeting, I post what is coming up for the Tuesday BOMA meeting so that my constituents and other people who are not necessarily in Ward 5 have an adequate opportunity to communicate to me any concerns or their opinions on things. And then on the Wednesday following the Tuesday night BOMA meeting, I post a summary and oftentimes explain why I have voted the way that I have voted. That's a reflection of my desire for transparency and to encourage everybody to participate in their community that you live in, that we all live in. And I think that's the way we build a stronger community. I want to continue that partnership in my second term as the alderman for Ward 5, and I'm asking you to vote for me in order to keep that going and keep Ward 5 great. Thank you.
Thank you for your participation. Mr. Pinson, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Frank Pinson. I'm running for Alderman for Ward 4. And first, before I do anything else, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to participate. So now I want to give you a little information about me. My family moved to Hendersonville in 1969, so yes, I've been here a long time. Grew up down Walton Ferry Road and graduated from Hendersonville High School along with my wife, my daughter, my son, my granddaughter, and I currently have another granddaughter that's a sophomore at Hendersonville High School. So I always say, go Commandos. After that, I attended Volunteer State Community College. Thank you, Professor. And then I went on to Trevecca and graduated with a degree in business administration. I recently retired after 40 years in the property casualty insurance business, and I held different executive level positions around the country in Chicago and Milwaukee. For the last 7 years, though, I worked for an insurance carrier that specialized in working with cities, towns, and counties. And because of that, I was able to experience a great deal of insight and issues that cities face. And here are the things that I personally feel are important for us to look at. But before I do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the other things that I'm involved in. I'm on the alumni board at Volunteer State Community College, and I'm also on the board of trustees at Volunteer State Community College, and I also volunteer for Feed Sumner. Dee Dee, my little wife, sitting right over there, 48 years. She's kept me around all that time. Are both members. We're members at First Baptist Church, Hendersonville. So now I'm going to start talking about the stuff that I really want to talk about. One of the areas that's most important to me is public safety. I think and believe strongly that the number one job of this group up here is the safety of the public and the governing of the governance that's provided by this board to ensure that occurs. First of all, I'll talk about the police department. The police department is currently in a building that was built when the population of Hendersonville was 1/2 of what it is today. I don't know if you've ever been in there. If you do go in there, be careful because those poor folks are sitting on top of each other in there. It's kind of a mess in there because they just run out. As you can imagine, with the population growth that Hendersonville's had in the last, that building was built, I think, 30 years ago. So you can imagine the kind of numbers of new police officers and stuff that have had to come into there. And I know I was fortunate enough to go on a tour, and Chief Jones, who is our police chief, does an excellent job. And the city of Hendersonville has outstanding protection, but I really do think that the patrolmen and detectives would have a much easier job if they had a new facility. The fire department, that's another story, has 117 firefighters currently. We've got a few more going through the firefighting academy as we speak. Firefighting is a dangerous business. As you might imagine, when I worked for that insurance carrier that handled cities, towns, and counties, we actually wrote the insurance on the fire trucks and the firemen themselves. I don't know if you know what a ladder truck costs, but a ladder truck these days is around $2 million. And it takes 2 years to build because they're all custom built. So what I'm getting at here is that our firefighters are in a very dangerous occupation. Sometimes they get hurt. So I don't want us to always be at that level of where we have just enough. I think we need some padding to those numbers. And fortunately, we have Chief Scotty Bush in charge of that department. He's an outstanding person and does a great job in running the fire department. In the case of both the firefighters and the police, we need to make sure that their compensation is commensurate with being the number 10, we're the 10th largest city in the state of Tennessee. I don't think a lot of people realize that. They kind of think we're that small little Hendersonville that it was when I first moved here. Well, we're not. And like I said, from virtue of all my experience with the insurance industry, I can tell you the one thing that every fire chief and every police chief I've ever talked to has said is the recruitment and retention of firefighters and police officers is the hardest thing to do. And a lot of that goes back to compensation. And I say that because these guys are highly sought after by other communities. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the deer population. Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Evans, 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Mark Evans. I've lived here in Hendersonville for a little over 30 years. I'm from Middle Tennessee. I grew up in Franklin, and that's where I met my wife, Debbie Evans. It's Debbie Moore Evans. We've been married 41 years, and we were middle school sweethearts. We started dating when we were in 6th grade. So, dating. Can you date in 6th grade? I guess you can. But we grew up in Franklin, and then as we started our family, we made our way up here. Debbie is a retired school teacher. She taught here at Jack Anderson and Station Camp Elementary in 1st grade. We have 2 children. Wade is our oldest. He's our son. He lives here in Hendersonville, and he works for the Parks Department. He's responsible for all the special events that goes on in the park. He's married to Elizabeth. They have a 3.5-year-old daughter, Emily, and she's a sweet angel. Our daughter, Mackenzie Crabtree, she lives in Birmingham. She married, and this guy's from Birmingham, and they lived here for a while, but then he took her back to Birmingham, where he has a great job. But we get to see them fairly often. They have a 2-year-old son, JJ. I just retired from the American Red Cross. I spent 15 years. I retired 2 weeks ago. I retired the day before Hurricane Helene hit. So they had asked me to stay on. I said, nope, I can't anymore. I'd already extended my stay to 3 months. So I told them I needed to start campaigning. But I was a finance director for the American Red Cross. My team was responsible for supporting all of the fundraising efforts across the whole USA. Our budget was $750 million a year, and that's what we were responsible for. I have 41 years of experience in accounting and budgeting and in finance work, and I think that would benefit our city by having someone who has that much experience, especially with a budget of roughly $63 million. I think that I can bring that experience. My good friend, I have a good friend, she's the CFO of the American Red Cross. Her name is Carmel Darcy. And she always would comment about how she liked to have me in the meetings when we would have big fundraisers in there. We would have big corporations, whether it be Walmart or Home Depot. She'd want me in there because she called me the voice of reason. I could bring people together from different thoughts, different things that they were bringing to the table, and we could reach a resolution and solve problems together and do what's best for the American Red Cross and then also for that company that was donating those funds to us. So I have the ability to, I think, bring people together to listen and to resolve those issues. As far as for me and what I've been involved in the city over the years, I've been on the board with the YMCA. I was chairman of the board for a couple of years. I was part of the team or group that helped start the Hendersonville Endurance Athletic Team, which is HEAT. And that's a group of people that we train together to do triathlons. And don't do that anymore. I spent 20 years doing that. But it was to help encourage people in the sport of running, swimming, biking, and then triathlons. I've completed in 3 Ironman races in the past. I say competed. I wouldn't say competed. I participated. We're also members of First Baptist Church. Debbie and I teach a young adults class. We started a class 3 years ago for people who are young adults who are just fresh out of college, starting their first job. And we started the class. Our first Sunday, we had 7 people. We've grown that to over almost 50 every Sunday that we have in there. And these are people who, half of them grew up here in the city, and half of them just moved here, and they're looking for community. So we find that that's important to be involved in that. We're also actively involved in Full Count Ministry, which is a baseball ministry here in town, and I mentor young men through that process and that ministry. I love our city. Hendersonville is our home, and I want it to continue to be a place where people live, serve, where they entertain, where they work and they play. And I want to serve our city as the next alderman in Ward 6. And I too want to echo what Rachel had said about thanking you for having this forum. These are important, and I wish that all the candidates had saw that these were important as well, and that they would all show up. So to me, I guess what it tells me is that they don't think it's very important, so they shouldn't be elected as officials for our city. So I just hope that you can support us, and thank you for having us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we done?
Are we?
It's like, where'd you go? The League of Women Voters of Hendersonville, Sumner County, we've expanded our name. We want to thank the candidates that participated. It is important to educate our voters. We also want to thank the City of Hendersonville, Mayor Clary, for the use of City Hall, and the AV technician, Jason Hollers, and his team. This event will be on the City of Hendersonville YouTube channel for public viewing. A special thank you to Professor Grady Eads, our moderator. As always, a wonderful job. A quick reminder, early voting is underway and will end October 31st. Thank you all for coming. Good night, and may you have safe travels home.
Thank you all.
Do you want to say anything?
I'm just thank you. Thanks.